Okay. Hi guys, welcome to Ask the Expert. I'm sorry, welcome to a special edition of Ask the Expert. Tonight we're here with the Stonewall vets. We are having a little bit of technical difficulty getting our president of the vets on board with us tonight, but we are joined tonight by Stonewall vet David Bermudez and his husband, Robert Isadora. So thank you so very much for joining us tonight. So great to have you. And we are going to go ahead and start the broadcast tonight. And we're going to wait for Willson Henderson, and hopefully he'll be able to call in short or to sign in shortly. If not, what we'll do is we'll have him on the phone. So, gentlemen, I am honored. My name, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Leticia Romero, and I host Ask the Expert. I'm also the public relations specialist for the Stonewall Rebellion Veterans Association. And the idea of tonight's broadcast is to share some stories of the Stonewall Rebellion with people who were actually there. And I see that we are joined by, I just want to go through some of the people that are here. Jane Fleischman, Robert Isadora, this looks incredible. Thanks so much for posting. We are joined by Rusty Rose, who's supposed to be on the broadcast. Rusty, if it's possible for you to join us on the link that I sent you, it would be great to have you on the show with us so that we can see and talk to you. And we're joined by Linda Mitchell. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'm sorry, I'm being both the producer and the host. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to ask David and Robert to introduce themselves and say hello to the audience.
Hello, audience. Thank you for having me. This is wonderful what you're doing over here. My name is David Velasco Bermudez. If you ask me why I have three names, it's my mother's maiden name. Somebody's coming in.
That's Willson Henderson, our president. I knew we'd get him on.
Greetings, everyone. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, Willson. How are you? How are you?
Look at that, David.
Yeah.
Nice seeing you, especially on our 51st anniversary.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I don't know how I got on this. It's been amazing. But anyway, everyone, welcome to, as Leticia said, I could hear you, a special edition with the Stonewall Rebellion Veterans Association. And like the song that was one of the many popular in the Stonewall jukeboxes, David knows, was Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing. Exactly. And that's us.
And this is us. That's right.
So, gentlemen, I think Willson, I'd like you to start off the show, and maybe talk about the Stonewall Veterans Association and what it is, and about the new the new GoFundMe page that we have, and it's scrolling along the bottom, how people can donate to the Stonewall Veterans Association. But maybe you'll give those who are watching some background, and I'm going to talk to Rusty Rose and try and get her online with us.
Oh, you heard from her?
Yeah, she's talking to us now live, but she doesn't seem to be able to find the link. So I'm gonna grab that for her, and I'm gonna put it in the comment section. So you go ahead and you talk to the audience, and I'll talk to Rusty.
Okay. Well, at the beginning, the Stonewall Club, as everyone called it, nobody called it the Inn. It wasn't Motel 6. So it was the successor to a very popular and very similar gay club. It was a gay bar and dance club. It had the dancing. It had some of the same songs from the Magic Touch. That was the name of it. In Long Island, in Island Park, as a matter of fact. hometown of U.S. Senator Al D'Amato. So very straight, very conservative suburban town. It's located north of Long Beach, Long Island. So after that closed, it was struck by Italian lightning, if you know what I mean. It was, of course, she's trying to hold in the laughter, Letitia. And it was run by the mafia, which is to say it was very safe. Wasn't like the Pulse Club a few years ago down in Florida. It was very safe with them running it. I assume that each of them had a gun on them. And what do you think, David, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
And so it's
right.
totally safe. It was very clean, unlike the reports that people have made up decades later, saying it had no running water. It's ridiculous. How do people,
What do you think, David?
Oh, who has their television on? One moment. Somebody has something on in the background. Rusty, is that you? We're joined by Rusty Rose. And if everybody could just make sure that there's no TVs running in the background. Willson, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What did I teach you? Never say you're sorry.
Ah, that's true. You did say that.
I
Okay.
told you the last time I said I was sorry, I was about 4 years old when I walked on the foot of a blind man. So anyway, the magic touch, and we're going to have a tribute at our conference Saturday. Hi, Rusty.
Hello, sweetheart. How are you?
Fine. We'll cover a lot. We have an hour. So, and you can see David and Bob up in Cape Cod.
Nice seeing you.
So after the magic touch was struck by lightning, and a lot of the same people then went to the Stonewall Club, which opened in January of 1966. Again, you'll hear me say it, and you'll hear Rusty say it, and David. There's a lot of misinformation out there. The gay community can't even get the years straight that the Stonewall Club was open. They can't get the date clear of the first night of the rebellion. A lot say it was June 28, 69. That was the second night of the rebellion. You can't have two rebellions going on at the same time with the same date. But in the gay community, you can. So the magic touch was struck by Italian lightning. All right. Unfortunately. But then the Stonewall Club opened up, and you have to realize during that Stonewall era, as all of the Stonewall veterans, the real ones know, people traveled to go to whatever was the Inn dance club where you could dance because it was illegal at that time. So they traveled, right, from Philadelphia to the Stonewall Club was not unusual, from Connecticut, New Jersey, even from Massachusetts, Rhode Island. So you saw a lot of the same people that had gone out to the to the Magic Touch, who went there from Manhattan, let's say, who then, when the Stonewall opened, people from Long Island then went into Manhattan to the Stonewall Club, right, Rusty?
Yes.
Right.
So, so the Stonewall era, therefore, was the beginning of 1966, to the very end of 1969, the last day of the year, New Year's Eve. The mafia at the Stonewall Club did not want to pay the substantial increase. They thought it was substantial then, now it wouldn't be, for the new year, the new decade, for the 1970s. So they didn't. It was a mistake. They knew it. But then another club opened up called Dr. Feelgood's, named after an Aretha song, Dr. Feelgood. So they named it that. It was at the Hotel Earl near Washington Square Park. So then most of us went there. But the Stonewall era was tremendous because it was like a family. It was like the first gay community center, really. And to a lot of people, as David mentioned to me many decades ago, it must be, and you were right. You said to a lot of people it was not their second home, but it was their main home, because that's where they could be themselves, dancing with someone of the same gender, and with the music there and the songs of the Stonewall Club and the jukebox, which, as a lot of people know, We have CDs, and it's on our website, www.stonewallvets.org. We'll give that again later. We have the songs of the original Stonewall Club, and we're going to be playing a lot of them at our conference this Saturday, July 25th. So what else, Letitia? Ask Rusty.
I'd like to hear from Rusty Rose a little bit about what she was doing that night and what actually happened when the police raided the club.
Yes, well, that day, I was in Washington Square because I was a rock and blues singer, and I was in Washington Square with Marcia and Sylvia. They were watching me perform, but that evening, I had gone to the Stonewall with a friend of mine, and I probably was at the club, maybe let's stretch it to 3 hours, 3 hours when
that wasn't unusual, yeah.
Yeah, when the police came in. But I don't want to give too much about it because on Inside Stonewall, the documentary, it's really gonna, fill in the lines with it. But I can tell you that there were 2 waves of police. First, the plainclothes, right, and then the other, riot police. But
they weren't riot police; they were uniform cops.
Right.
There was no riot.
Uniform cops. But you see, inside we were rebelling. Right. Outside they were rioting the kids. So that's the way I look at it. But when the cops, I was actually from the front to the middle. Mm-hmm. And when they came in, they first asked kids for ID, who had ID. And believe me, we were kids, not adults. We were kids. And so they let some out with ID. Then they decided, let them out. Most of them out. But I was held back because my friend, a drag king friend, and my other friends, it didn't match the protocol of what to wear, So we were held and brought to the left side of the darkened corner of the dance floor.
So David, what was the Stonewall Inn like for you as a young gay man in New York? I mean, tell us about your experiences there. But before you answer that question, I just want to acknowledge that Chuck Kaminsky joined us, and Willson, while you were talking about Long Branch, Chuck said, my husband grew up in Long Beach and remembers the magic touch in Island Park or something like that.
Ask him to get in contact with us. That's great.
Chuck, so continue to write here, and who should he contact? Info at the what's the email address, Willson? He should.
Our email, which we would give out anyway, is SVA, standing for Stonewall Veteran Association, at Stonewall Vets, VETS. Well, and by the way, if I actually, off the record, I like the Magic Touch even more than I did the Stonewall Club, as much as I loved that and how important it was. The Magic Touch was just great. And that you got from this show someone that responded who went to the Magic Touch is incredible. And Rusty, I'll tell you someone else who went to the Magic Touch that but you don't know this. One of the cops, Dave and Bob, who was going to be in this, he was filmed already for it, for this documentary coming up called Inside Stonewall. It's from the police angle, and that's why they have a lot of information and records and photographs that no one has ever seen before. One of the cops, Richie Ornstein, used to go to the Magic Touch. Isn't that something? Off duty, of course.
Okay, so David, I didn't mean to interrupt my question and your answer. Tell us about your experiences in the Stonewall and why it was important for you.
Well, I'll first say this, okay? Thank you very much for having this wonderful, wonderful program and having Williamson on, and I haven't seen her for a long, 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 long time. I don't know if you remember me. I was prettier then. That's why. I was going to say, I'll tell you how I ended up at the Stonewall. All right. I used to go here and there, you know what I mean? And different bars and all that. I'm Latino, so I used to go to Latin bars and whatever. So I was living on the West Side, and I heard on the radio that Judy Garland committed suicide, not really, took an overdose in London in her flat. And we were just shocked about this because she was like the icon for the gays, for the guys
Right.
especially. You ever see her, you go see her shows, it was 95% guys and all that. And she was really nice to all of us. So when I heard that, we all felt real bad and all that. So I was going to move the following day in New York City to my first apartment. And a friend of mine called me, who he passed away, Nicky Massafaro, and said, "Hey, let's go celebrate his life." And I went, "No, I don't think so. I don't want to do that." He's, "Oh, come on." And then everybody was calling and calling. So about 10 o'clock at night or so, I said, "Okay." So we met. We went to West 4th Street, and we went to the bars. We went here. We were everywhere. Then all of a sudden, it's like 1:10 in the morning, and I'm going to be moving the following day, from where I was. So I told him, "Come on, let's get on the subway." And New York City, nobody gets on the subway, right? Right, Williamson, alone at 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
So I went ahead.
Especially a young gay guy.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
Or girl.
And they said, "Well, we'll help you move. Yeah, like tomorrow, right?" I said, "All right." So they said, "Let's go to one more bar." And we were in Greenwich Village, and they said, "Let's go to the Stonewall." And I said, "Okay, fine." So we go to the Stonewall. It's a beautiful night. It was a moonlit night, I remember. And there was a lot of people out there. And I think a lot of them too, because Judy was just put to rest, that day. And we walked in, and the doorman knew us already, the guys that were going in. So we got in, we did our thing and all. And at the end of the bar, there's a little, like a little booth area, way at the end on the left-hand side of the bar, where a lot of Latinos used to hang out, and a lot of Italians too, Italian friends and all that. So we met each other, we went in there, we were doing our thing, and a lot of, it was sad, and yet we were having a good time. And then all of a sudden, I said, "Who's going to get the drinks?" Because the place was crowded. So a friend of ours went to get he called one of the boys that worked there to get the drinks for us. So he does, and we're sitting back there talking, and all of a sudden, this bright light goes on. In the bars, there was these lights to tell you, "Hey, cops are here." You know what I mean? Lay off, don't touch each other, stop dancing. Somebody pull the plug of that jukebox or something like that. And we said, "What the hell is this?" Now, mind you, one of my friends worked for Arthur Murray's dance studio on Fifth Avenue. His name was Nicky Mazzafaro, who we lost. And my other friend worked for the United Nations, right? And I had a really, really nice job in New York City. And at that time, if we came out in the paper the following day or the weekend with our phone number and our addresses and all, we would get fired. We would get thrown out of our apartments. If you live with your mom and dad, they'd throw you behind out too. It was just an era like that you couldn't even go to your parents and say, "I got beat up by a cop." You couldn't even talk about that. So
there was no coming out to your parents at that time.
Well, I was married, and then I was going through the separation and all that, and I was coming out as far as sexually.
Okay.
I mean, I knew there was something there, and I lived in an area where there was a lot of gay people living on 65th and Columbus Circle, and I didn't know that it was a gay area. And I would go to the laundromat downstairs to wash my clothes because there was laundromats that you go downstairs to wash your clothes. And all these guys were like, hi, hi. You know, I was going, hi, hi. And everybody was going, well, where do you live? Oh, I live right over here. You come visit me. I didn't even know they were gay. You know, so a friend of mine says, Dave. I said, oh, okay. So then what happened? We were in the bar. And the first thing we said to each other was, take out your ID immediately, because we wanted to just give it to them and get out. You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden we hear these cops come in. One, I think some of them were plain clothed. And then there was, I think there was a woman cop, you know, because at that time you had to have 3 different sets of clothes under your, if you're a drag queen or something like that, you know. If not, you'd be arrested. And meaning if you're a guy, you have to have your underwear, socks, you know, the whole bit. And the ladies used to take them into the bathroom and check them out, which we call strip search today. Is that what you call it? And so that's why they had these.
So wait. Let's just don't gloss over that, because I think that that's important for anybody who's too young. And Bob, you and I spoke about this on the phone earlier. We have so many young people that just take it for granted that they can come out comfortably, be themselves from an early age, and whether they're trans or cross-dresser or whatever the situation, they can feel comfortable in their own skin. But they don't realize that even just being a gay man and holding your lover's hand in public could land you in jail. In the 1960s.
And get you beat up too. And get you
By the
up.
way, David, can you move closer to where your mic is? Because you can't hear you too good. Like, Bob is perfect, by the way. He's close. Yeah, now we can hear you better.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want me
So if somebody was trans and they were at the bar and they were,
Letitia, that term didn't exist then. That's something that's in vogue now.
Thank you.
so what was it called then, Willson?
Like David said, drag queens.
Drag
Or
queen.
sometimes there were flame queens, like our member Ruthie Bird.
Yeah.
She used to do the makeup for the flame queens in Sheridan Triangle there. And
Just jump in, Rusty. Nobody's going to shut up in this group.
that's right. That's why we're still here. And also, at the time, you know, you had cross dressers, like David said, and transsexuals.
Right.
And then you had, I don't know which term fitted them, Rusty, but you know what I mean, the chicks with dicks.
Yes, well, that back then there was no transgender, but they were lumped in with the transvestites, because transvestite bar. So everybody was lumped into that category.
Okay.
And there were what we call today transgender at the bar, but they were at the front when I walked in, sitting down at the bar. And the same thing with the drag queens. Nobody, when I walked in, saw them in any flamboyant outfit. There was one guy, I'm not going to say her name, because he wasn't dressed, but I'll say he, because he was a gay man, and he was a little perturbed about something. That's going to be inside Stonewall. But yes, they were lumped in with the transvestites, because no one knew too much about, you know, we were still defining ourselves, everyone.
That's correct. That's right.
You couldn't even say you were gay.
You could even
Now,
say
Bob, as a spouse of a Stonewall veteran, I have one too, but he's not here at the moment. He wouldn't have gone on film anyway. He's such a closet case, even after all these years. Plus, everyone on the show knows Andre, of course. Yeah, sends his love. And he wants to go to that Cuban American restaurant on West 14th Street again when you guys come down.
Right.
So, yeah, so in other words, Letitia, back then, it was sort of like, not totally, but it was like one community. Everyone But, what group you belong to, even so the Vietnam War was going on at the time, when people were at the gay clubs, they weren't thinking of that. It was to have fun. No one said what political party they belonged to or anything like that. No, it was to have fun and to dance or to meet people, and that's why we started the Stonewall Rebellion Veterans Association back in the summer of '69, whereas I've seen written, and Rusty and I commented on this a while ago, that you read the first group that formed after the Stonewall Rebellion, after that week was over, later on, months later, it was not the GLF, it was the Stonewall Veterans Association. They started, I don't know how much after, but they only lasted a half a year too. We're here in the 51st year. And by the way, we did a mailing. All of you are going to get it in about a day or two, a big envelope mailing with the flyer for the conference on Saturday. And so we were going through the list of Stonewall veterans alive and active now with us. And I was surprised. We had 42 that are with the SVA right now, and there could be more, but we had done 42 envelopes were mailed out to Stonewall veterans. And by the way, 6 are in California. Isn't that something like Palm Springs, San Diego, 2 in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and
Las Vegas.
And where?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. We have one in Chicago. It's very interesting. So there are plenty alive, and then no Stonewall veterans, but you read an article and they mention the veterans of the Stonewall Rebellion. They go, there's very few of them left. You know, almost like you can count it on one hand. So we have 42, and there's at least 8 more who say that they're Stonewall veterans. We don't know if they were or not. So then it's up to 50 if you count them.
Well, that's why it's important for us to do shows like this. And David, I want to get back to the story that you were telling. That you were saying that they would take the people into the ladies' room and undress them.
Before I say anything, he wants to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Robert. Yes, please.
Okay. Williamson, do you remember the first day I met you?
That what?
Do you remember the first time I met you?
No.
See, it's a test.
I know you two are married for over 40 years, which is incredible.
46, actually.
Isn't that something? 46 years.
When I had emailed you when I was doing some checking and I ran into the SVA website, and I told David, and David said, "Oh my God!" So we contacted you, and we came to New York.
Right, that I remember.
Just so you know this story, and it's going to tie into what David. The night of the raid, David told me this story many times. That it was a lot of ruckus going on. He was trying to get out. Cops were slapping people around, and guys were returning the favor. But he remembered seeing a guy on the floor with a cop on top of him.
Yeah.
And
I know who that was.
I know. And he was saying, my God, that always stayed in his head. All these years. When we went to New York to meet Williamson, he turned out to be that guy. And this is, I don't know how many years ago. And I tell this to our friends.
Yes.
Because I agree with Williamson. There's so much misinformation out there.
Yes.
I told people who emailed me and said, well, Williamson, I don't remember him being there. I said, well, I got another story to tell you.
Yeah.
He was there because I believe my spouse, he's not going to make that up.
No.
I mean, especially even before I met you, Wilson, he told me that story. So.
Yeah, and storming to Lavare that night was the one who yelled out when I was on the ground, because I think you know this, Letitia, but I tried getting away from the 2 cops that had me.
Yeah.
I figured I could get away. I was a little bit like a gazelle at that time. Yeah. And the one of them that came up to me in the dance club part, with the jukebox, that's at 51 Christopher Street. Now, right now, 51 Christopher Street, as we all know, I don't know if it's a lingerie store now or
it's closed.
clothing.
I think it's a nail salon. My friend Sal Calise, who joined us, said it was a nail salon.
Yeah. So when the cop came up to me and he was undercover, this was in 51 Christopher Street. That's not even the Stonewall Club now. That's why what's there now is not the real thing. And besides, there's not even a splinter left from the original club because, as everyone here knows, for 20 years, that was the Bagel Nosh, it was Leatheroso, it was a Chinese dry cleaning. For 20 years, there was no Stonewall there. So this is some new concoction, relatively new. So where I was apprehended by an undercover cop, and by the way, this is in the documentary because we have they have three original Stonewall cops, Toscano, Giamuso, and Ornstein, who are in this documentary that tell what we're covering some of, and also about the 69 blue convertible, which they confiscated. So this guy came up to me after the lights went on, like what David's mentioned, and he said, "You're coming with me." And I said, "No, I'm not." Yeah, I didn't know where this guy came from. I thought he might have been on the other side of the club and thought I was going to go on a date with him or something. So he said, "Yes, you are." And I said again, "No, I'm not." And he had a shirt, like I have a button-down shirt. I don't know if you can see it. So, but his shirt was open because he had a T-shirt under it. So he pulled the shirt on the side, and I looked down, and guess what was there? A gun.
A gun, yeah.
A gun.
So Rusty, I see that you wanted
So that's when I went with him,
Right.
not willingly, and went outside, and that's when I tried getting away from him.
And that's why that's what Bobby was just saying, for years, I would say the story to people from California or wherever we lived. And I never forgot it. And I used to say to my friends, I wonder if that boy was killed, because I saw guns. So I thought I just got out, right?
Yeah.
And everything was going on. So when Bobby told me about you and all that, I said, "Oh, that's great and all that." But we got to Greenwich Village and we got to this little burger store. Remember? With some burgers. And I looked at him and I says to Bobby, his smile looks we're up there,
Especially from my modeling years, which included the whole Stonewall era.
That's right. Yeah, he was a model. And what happened, I told him the story and he looked at me and says, "David, I was the boy. I was ready to cry because all these years I thought he might have been murdered." But things happened at the Stonewall we didn't know about, other things that we'll never know about. You know what I mean? Especially after the rebellion.
I think that's in every bar. So Rusty, I know you wanted to interject here.
Yes. The night I had been inside, okay, I was one of not the lucky ones to get out. Yeah. But that night, they were unsuccessful. Nobody went to the bathroom. They tried to bully us. They tried to get, I was with a drag king, tried to get him into the bathroom, tried to get this drag performer and a few of the trans community, tried to get to check things in the bathroom, and we rebelled in there. And then the cops, the plainclothes, try to cuff, and I am going to leave the name of my friend for Inside Stonewall, tried to cuff him inside. We had an altercation there. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, the cops were bringing somebody out. I thought it was one of the mob, but and then we were pushed back in because outside when they were rioting, one of the cops got beaten with something. So now a few of us were kept inside. They were unsuccessful, David, trying to, go into the bathroom, but they were still grabbing at us and trying to see,
That's what they did. Exactly.
Yeah. And that the one should be credited with Pop and the Cop, there's two incidents there you're going to hear on Inside Stonewall. One was this drag king that I was with. And, you know, but there was a lot of things going on at once, inside, outside. And quite honestly, the kids outside put our lives in danger because we were stuck with the cops there. And the second wave of cops didn't come, the uniforms, because there was no communication from the inside to the out. So we waited a long time for anyone to come in.
Letitia, I didn't finish what I was saying.
Yes, please do.
Out of the bar. So I was in the back, and we were nervous because, like I said, one of my friends worked for the United Nations, and Nikki was an Alphamari dancer. Even though there was a lot of gay dances and all that, it was still a no-no. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
we fought our way through and all that, and then when we were coming out, I don't know who hit me with a billy club. They have a stick and hit me in the neck, and I fell. And then I got up. I was a feisty young boy, just like Williamson. He was very feisty.
He still is.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
What
were.
a nice host.
Yeah.
He's still there. Still
So then I get up and I see this really handsome guy next to me, and I looked at him and I said to him, "What the is wrong with you?" I thought it was a gay guy. It was a plainclothesman.
Right.
What hit me
It was hard to tell the two between.
Yeah.
Well, he may have been a gay guy, but we just don't know.
It's funny. I don't know if Williamson knows this. Every time we saw cops, they were always cute guys. I don't know if they did this on spite. I really don't know, because a lot of the guys were really, really cute. So I went ahead, and when I was trying to push myself out, I saw Williamson with that cop, and I went to grab the cop off, and that's what I went to do. I went to grab him. My friend said, David, don't do that. We're going to be arrested. We're going to come out in the paper. We're going to lose our jobs. I went, all right. And I kept looking and looking, and he was very feisty. He was letting it go. So then I always lived with that. Mind you, this whole night I lived with that. And then I met Williamson 30-something years later, Williamson.
Me too.
30-something years later.
You know, Letitia, because I know part of this purpose of this program, besides educating the public, especially the youth, Lord knows the GLBT youth need to be educated. We know that, especially since, as we all stated, there's a lot of misinformation out there. As I said at a talk during Gay Pride Month last month, I said, you know, probably in around 10 or 15 years, the story will be that the founding fathers were really black trannies who were in white face and with the same wigs, right? Same wigs, but they were in white face. I mean, it's ridiculous, the stuff that's heard. And the bottom line is always the facts. And one fact is that over the week of the rebellion, and 2 nights it rained, so there was no rebellion.
Right.
And this is all. And what,
I'm sorry, but only in the gay community are you going to take off 2 nights because it rained.
That's right. Back then, we didn't want to get our hair wet. It's true. So there was a total of 21 arrests over the first 3 nights. All 20. I take that back. 22. 21 of the 22 were males.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
One female who happened to be walking by and mouthed off to the cops while this unrest was going. She wasn't even a patron of the club. So of 22, all were white. But that's not what you hear reported now at all. They keep twisting the story and twisting the realities. It's just like on this show now, there's 5 of us here. Who would know that the majority right now on this show are Italian? Majority, you have the majority. Me and David are in the minority. I know.
Yeah.
So, but one of the other purposes of the show, Letitia, because the Stonewall Club now has raised a few $100,000, fellows and Rusty, in the last month, saying they need it to keep history alive. They didn't create the history, we did. And we have not a for-profit bar, which theirs is closed right now. Karma is a bitch. So we have bills also, and it's not for mismanaging money as reported that they have. They raked in hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash just last June from Stonewall 50. We saw the line there going up the block for people to go in. There's not a splinter left of the Stonewall Club. They redid the whole thing. Chadwick Ward did it in his story in The Spectator last month. He stated, they all read the story, stated that they modernized it. There's nothing left. There's no ambience left there. It's nothing. So having said that, we need to raise funds because we lost a lot. Our street fair was canceled. We lost $5 grand, $6 grand from that. Our fundraiser that was planned last month at a big restaurant was canceled, reluctantly by them, but they had to do it. So, but we have storage, a big storage facility, which has a lot of archives of the Stonewall veterans that we've lost over the decades, especially from the AIDS war. As you all know, we lost most of our Stonewall veterans in the 1980s. You know, that was during when Rock Hudson had AIDS and so forth. So we have to raise funds for that and for the Stonewall car. The garage is owed probably 5 months rent and the office rent. So whatever you can say now, Letitia, on that subject, giving out, I don't know how you give out that website.
Well, it's been scrolling at the bottom of the screen the entire time. And so this is the new GoFundMe page for the Stonewall Veterans Association. And I urge anyone who can to please make a donation. You go to GoFundMe, support gay veterans, 1969 Stonewall Rebellion. So if you put in Stonewall Vets, it will pop up and you can make a donation to the SVA and it will be greatly appreciated. And that will continue as the broadcast lives on. You know, that will continue to scroll across the bottom. So I urge everyone to give generously now because, you know, $300,000 being raised for a bar that wasn't even the original Stonewall bar, and then, you know, if you look through the years, the Heritage of Pride, who now hosts the gay Pride parade, gets millions upon millions upon millions of dollars and does not even honor those men and women that you see on your screen that were actually there, that created the gay rights movement. You know, people need to know that there are living, breathing veterans of this rebellion that need help. And the help that the Stonewall Veterans Association gives is by way of rides to the doctors, groceries when needed, helps with funerals. There's lots of expenses and lots of good stuff that the SVA does. And so, you know, I urge everyone to give generously. And if everybody who watches this just gives $10, $20, we'll be able to replenish what was lost because of COVID and hopefully get the SVA back on its feet.
And Rusty has opinions on this because Rusty expressed them in this upcoming documentary, which is put on hold for the moment because of this coronavirus pandemic. So, Rusty, why don't you tell everyone your view on this Stonewall Inn, as they used it, raising a couple of $100,000 for them, saying that they are the history rather than the Stonewall veterans. Tell folks what you think about that.
Well, what's happening now is a whole revisionist history of Stonewall. It's being written. I don't know. Does it benefit corporations? It is. Everything is just twisted, changed. The people who were there are not honored. People who weren't there are honored and being made icons and heroes. It's just awesome. But you mentioned, I cringe when you said heritage of
shame.
Of shame.
Yeah,
I
heritage of shame.
am a poet by trade, and I was slated to, by contract, to be at their rally and to do a poem. It was all set up, and then I encountered one of their little puppets at the LGBTQIA plus ABC Center. And he said he was working, but his job was public relations or public reader.
Yeah.
And I asked, about the Stonewall Veterans Association. Why are they not honored this year? 49 years we led this.
Right.
Thing you know, I got from Heritage of Shame, you're canceled your performance.
For spite, they did it, for spite.
Yeah. And leading the way, the way I feel about it, it was our 50th. If it was our 50th birthday, we weren't invited.
Yeah.
And what they did, what I would have done is not only have the Stonewall veterans, I would have had the Mattachines, whoever were before us.
The daughters of Bilitis, the ones that
are. I would have had them, and then us, and then all like the Gay Activist Alliance. But I think they had the GLF. That was a short-lived. They came a year after after Stonewall. And, it was very insulting to me and to all of us.
There are a lot of Stonewall veterans that live out of New York City now, which is understandable, including you two. And we said we want to have arrangements made that when the Stonewall veterans come to New York City for the Stonewall 50, what they called World Pride, which was to generate millions of dollars for them, for their greedy selves. We wanted Heritage of Shame, which got all this money in, to at least provide convertibles for the Stonewall veterans to have in our flotilla, and us leading the Stonewall 50 parade, of course. Who else would lead it? But they said no to that, and we, and plenty of people, including Rusty, called up there many times. Loads of Stonewall veterans did, saying, "What do you expect Stonewall veterans who are now like in their late 60s or 70s or 80s? What did you think they were going to walk, or go like the Grincher in the wheelchair, or maybe with a walker?" And it was just unbelievable. There was no respect. Instead, they picked 4 obscure grand marshals. One of them came from England.
Stars. And I have to interrupt you because I remembered something. When I was talking to this person, what I was told, and you're ready for this, you're all going to fall on the floor. Anybody's listening out in the virtual world, you better hold on to something, because they were telling me that we, the Stonewall Veterans Association, would not lead the way because at their meeting, Heritage of Shame, we did not get enough, wait for it, votes. Now, do we really need votes that we're pioneers? We're the reason why you have Heritage of Pride march. It's never it's a march. Don't even get
and the fact is that on the 25th anniversary of the rebellion, the Stonewall Veterans Association was honored, and they were the grand marshals. And on the website,
with the Stonewall car.
Yeah, with the Stonewall car, and you actually addressed the millions of people gathered in Central Park. Well, maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was Queen Allison and some others that addressed.
We were all on the stage, and we had another 20 in the front row of this event. This was in Central Park that Letitia was talking about. Of course, all of us know, but for anyone watching the show, it was the 25th anniversary, and at that time, it was the biggest gay event in the world by far, and reporters and people came from all over the world.
Yes.
Italy, Ireland, Iceland, even Iran, no matter what country you mention, they were there. And we were on the stage, 25 of us, broadsiding the stage and spoke. And the crowds were chanting, "Thank you. Thank you."
Now, at that time, who was running the parade at that time? It wasn't Heritage of Shame.
No, it wasn't HOS.
No.
It was a special organization that was created for Stonewall 25.
Okay.
We
Letitia, Letitia, I want to say something.
Yeah.
We're New Yorkers, right? All of us are New Yorkers.
All of us.
It's a shame what they did to us. It's a
Yes.
shame. A
Grace.
lot of Cape Codders that I know, especially a lot of my lesbian friends, went to New York because they thought we were going to be there.
Exactly.
When they came back, they were so, excuse the expression, pissed off, you know? And then I told them, I want to say something. I live on Cape Cod. Bob and I have lived in Cape Cod almost 23 years. And I'll tell you, during the 50th, during all the year of the 50th anniversary, I spoke everywhere. I marched in the parade in Provincetown, in Boston, you know, and they were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would say to me, "So what happened in New York?" Now I'm not in New York anymore, but I heard through the VA, through Williamson, and they said that's a shame, you know. And Cape Cod was absolutely fantastic. The crowds were fantastic, and it was something that I did not expect because I'm the only Cape Cod veteran that's living in Massachusetts with Bobby. So I want you to know that, you know, and as a New Yorker, I don't care who had the parade or not, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Right.
Ashamed of themselves because it got all the ways to Boston and to Cape Cod. We all knew what they were doing, you know, but we'll do something different soon. Huh, Williamson? We're going to do something different.
Well, you know, in fact, Bob and David have been the grand marshals of the Boston Gay Pride Parade.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes. That was wonderful.
And we were the grand marshals for Stonewall 30 in 1999. You know, Rusty, you were there.
Yeah.
And we had a flotilla of about 8 convertibles, which we provided. But then 20 years after that, for the 50th anniversary, you can't expect Stonewall veterans who are now all, you know, senior citizens to be providing the vehicles when we should be honored. That's like if Rosa Parks were alive and was leading, you know, an Afro-American civil rights parade, saying, "Hey, Rosa, get your own car." You know,
they wanted to charge you for those cars.
They wanted to charge you
for being.
Yes, they did. All right, so I want to just let you know we're joined by a special guest on the telephone. Bert Coffman is joining us by phone. Say hi, Bert.
How are you?
Good.
Good evening, everyone.
Nice seeing you.
Stonewall spirit alive.
Hey,
Yeah.
Can you hear him?
I can hear you.
Okay, so
Stonewall all the way.
okay, so Bert, why
ask Bert what he thinks about the gay rag paper. We didn't cover them yet, which is now owned by Schlepp's Media, also known as Schlepp's Media. It's heterosexuals. Can you believe in the city of 9 million people, New York City, that there's only one gay paper out of 9 million? You know, there used to be 4 gay papers 15 years ago, 4 or 5. Now there's only one, and it's owned by 2 heterosexuals. And they bought the old gay rag paper, so now they have that, but they still put out their slander. But of course, we have sued them, and I'm happy to tell anyone that doesn't know that's watching the show that the civil court of the city of New York several years ago declared in a 7-page landmark decision that the Stonewall veterans in the Stonewall Veterans Association are analogous to the suffragettes from 100 years ago with the women's rights movement. That's an ultimate compliment.
It certainly is. So, Bert, do you want to
tell us about what you think about the gay rag paper or Heritage of Shame? Or
the dinginess of yellow journalism. You know, character assassinations and put spikes into Stonewall because they're jealous that they don't share the heritage that we have, the valuable, pertinent, socially relevant history of the Stonewall veterans.
So Bert, tell us about your experience the night of the rebellion. What were you doing? What happened?
Well, I was across the street in a loft above Tiffany's coffee shop, and I took a break to come downstairs for a cigarette and stuff happening across the street. So I went over and observed what was going on.
And what did you see?
Well, the people there were with the effervescence, fluorescence of the Stonewall spirit. You know, the people were mad as hell and they weren't going to take it anymore. That was the spirit back then. You know, that I always quote that epic Hollywood movie from 40 years ago called Network with William Holden, where the British journalist Howard Beale, played by the late British actor Peter Fish, is a broadcast journalist, and he has an epiphany on air, and he yells into the television camera, "Go to your window, open the window, stick your head out, and shout out to people, mad as hell and not going to take it anymore."
Good analogy.
The spirit that pervaded people. They were mad as hell and not going to take it. And the thing that tipped it over the edge back then was the night of Judy Garland's funeral, the icon to the gay community, the fairy godmother of the gay community, Judy Garland. And the people had been in the afternoon uptown at Frank Campbell's funeral home for her funeral, and then returned down to the village, to the clubs and bars to offer drinks in toast of her memory, and play her songs on the jukebox. There were lots of her hit songs on the jukebox, and that was the mood of that evening. You know, emotions were running high, as the phrase goes. Emotions were running high, and all these things came together, combined together, and congealed and brewed like bubble, trouble, and it's witch's brew of the gay exuberance, and it just all bubbled up and overflowed, and then the top of the pot was blown off, and the people just had been fed up with enough of the years of the cops and the mafia abusing them and exploiting them and oppressing them. They had enough, and they stood up and spoke up for their rights. That's why we in all our things we object to the yellow journalists, like in the Schlepp's thing in the gay news rag paper, you know, calling it riots, and it wasn't riots because we adjusted the word riot as a legal term denoting criminal behavior.
Right.
And the participants in the Stonewall Rebellion were not criminals. They were Americans standing up and speaking out for their right to socialize in public, which is an American right.
I mean, if you take a look at what they're calling a peaceful protest nowadays, I mean, I think that you would have been the epitome of a peaceful protest, you know, compared to what's happening right now.
Quite decorum, genteel, civilized decorum in comparison to the hooligans that are out today.
Yeah. So Willson, you know, or any one of you, paint us a picture. I mean, when the cops would come into the gay clubs,
Uh-huh.
they were looking to get paid off. What were they looking to do? Were they fulfilling a quota? It would be on a regular basis, right? So tell me.
A lot of bars.
Wait, Bert, 1 minute. Bert, 1 minute, because David Bermudez is going to answer this.
I want everybody to know this, especially the young kids. It just wasn't the Stonewall. Lesbian bars were raided. You know what I mean? All over, everywhere. I have friends of mine that lived in Puerto Rico. Their bars were always raided. And they would come in, not because of the pay. That night, yeah, we heard that they didn't pay the owners, and that's their story. They used to come in and harass us.
Right.
Or they would walk in, they would say separate, and they look at you. They say you're nothing but a faggot, or you're a mental case, or word I don't really like to hear. Queer. I don't like that because many times I was beat up and called queer. I remember
the word they used against us, the worst word.
The word queer is out of it.
Right.
And I hate to say
very offensive. We fought against that word. And we know that there were gays now that use the Q word. That's what we call it. And we know there are blacks that use the N word.
But the kids nowadays, that's their preferred word. Bob and I were talking about that the other night. Queer is, they prefer to be called queer than gay, which is amazing to me, because I remember as a kid, my parents told me never to use that word when speaking about someone who was gay, because queer meant odd and that you weren't right. Go ahead, Rusty.
We the word dyke. We using dyke. We reclaimed that word because back then, they come in to harass us because, first of all, what we were doing was considered illegal. Plus, we were sick. But we all, as a lesbian, we all began using the word, hey, dyke, to reclaim it. We used the word, to get queer. We took it back and we gave it a positive spin on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the kids today feel that they're doing with the word. Which,
Letitia, they have to understand. I'm a man already up there, and I'm not going to tell you my age.
You don't look older than 39.
Oh, I'm gonna go to New York and just make that.
You all look 39.
Huh? I was gonna say that when I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, a Latin friend of mine, opened up a little gay bar in New York in a basement. He took the basement and he covered the walls with black paint, and then remember that paint that would glue in the dark and all that? Yeah. And he had a little record player, and he had a little table in the front of the bar at the entrance with a little skirt and all the liquor, and all that. He charged 75 cents with 2 drinks. And it was really nice. So one night we found out he was opening up the bar. And I said, because he always wanted to open up a bar, this guy. So we went, three of us went, and it was really nice, and we were just having a good time. I was dancing in the back room because it was like, how the basements are, they have a room here and a room there, and we were in the back, and all of a sudden the lights go on, and we went, oh my God, what the hell is this all about? So I looked around and I saw 4 policemen. We used to call them cops, right? 4 cops in front of the door, because that's where the table was, talking to my friend. And then they were going behind the table, taking all the liquor that was not open, all sealed, all the cigarettes, and he had a little cigar box that he left the money inside. What did he make that night? What, $100, $150 or something like that? But the thing is, he said to them, please don't come in and harass my customers. It's my first night and all that. We didn't know that, So they left. And when they left, we all were like, crazy about it. So I had to leave. It was really late. It was about 3:00 in the morning. And I walked out, and at that time I lived at the YMCA. And so walking to the Y, the traffic was coming towards me. And I was just walking, that's all, just walking, and a cop car was passing by. And they stopped and they said, "Hey, faggot." That's the first word. And I said nothing. I just kept walking. "Hey, you goddamn queer." I said nothing. And then all of a sudden, they said something. I forgot what it was. And I turned around and I said, "Who are you talking to?" And like Williamson, I'm a feisty little Puerto Rican boy in New York. So what happened, they looked at me and they says, "Come over here." And I says, "What do you want?" Like that. Yeah, and I don't know what else I said. I went over, they grabbed me. They threw me against the car. They got the billy clubs. They started beating the crap out of me. They went into my pocket and took probably 50 cents I had left over. You know what I mean? And then they said, "If we ever see you again in a place like that, you know what you're going to get."
It
And
was
I said,
police abuse. This is
"Yes,
what was going on.
okay." I went like that. So I got up and I walked to the Y. And my friends lived all in the Y. When I got into the lobby, they said, "David, you really drank a lot at that bar." I says, "Yeah, I'll tell you why." So I told them. I told them what went on and all that. They couldn't believe it. And the thing that I always will remember is that they said, "If I ever see you in one of those things again," that means that they were looking at us. They
Yeah.
were watching us. And we never knew that. We thought maybe they picked us up in a bar.
Yeah.
So I got in. I'll be honest with you. I didn't go to bars for 2 years. I just didn't want to go anymore to the bars and all that. But I'll never forget that. So I want the kids to know that the first word they hit you with is queer, bang, queer, bang. And let me tell you, you see those poor people getting hurt in these
Yeah,
bars.
but it doesn't have the same power as it did because we reclaimed it. We have,
Yes.
so yeah, but back then, right? I do a poem, because I'm a poet, and you could find it in London, all over. Put the T first, but I scream out when the cops came. They called us faggots, poof,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But it
So
didn't
so
make
they did it for their own entertainment. See, I guess I was under the misconception that somehow or another they were on the take. That
They
they were being paid
They
off.
were.
they were.
Oh, they were. Okay.
That,
You
but
know,
at
ju-
that time, you
Went
have
there because the gay clubs were considered illegal then, unlike now.
right.
You have celebrities go to them. I mean,
Oh,
during
yeah.
Stonewall 50 last year, every other week, Letitia, you know this, Lady Gaga went to the Stonewall Club, or Taylor Swift went to the Stonewall Club, or that guy who I call Bye Bye Biden went to the Stonewall Club. Like the NSYNC song, Bye Bye Bye, he's Bye Bye Biden. He went to the Stonewall Club, which is a rented store, but he never came to the Stonewall Veterans Association, our annual conference. He could have come to that last June. We had it at St. John's Lutheran Church on Christopher Street, by the way, folks. So you know where it'll be this Saturday at 3:15 till 6 o'clock, St. John's Evangelical Lutheran Church with Reverend Mark Urson. And we have the whole church, by the way. So a lot of public officials come to that. That he didn't. But we have Congress members who come, and state senators and assembly members, and also city council members.
Well, maybe we could get Lady Gaga to come. Maybe we could get her to see the show, and she'll come and make a donation.
Well, if you have the contact info, then invite her. But speaking of the original Stonewall Club and the Stonewall Jukebox, just so everyone knows, we're still in contact with some of the original stars of the jukebox there. I'm talking about, major stars who are still performing, such as Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, very popular at Stonewall Jukebox. And who, Rusty?
Mary.
And Mary Weiss of the Shangri-Las. We had her as a guest at our conference about 10 years ago. Looks great, sounds great. And in fact, I spoke to Martha Reeves Saturday because it was her birthday. And I called her in Detroit, left a message, and she called me and Andre back. And then we saw Mary Willson of the Supremes. And during this pandemic, Mary has sent 2 of the Supremes gowns postcard. Beautiful. To wish that all the Stonewall veterans are safe during this pandemic, knowing that, you know, we're vulnerable because of various reasons. We didn't hear from the SAGE, which supposedly stands for Seniors Active in a Gay Environment. They've got a couple of $1 million in their bank account, but no one from there, and they're all paid, as you know, big time. No one from there even called us once or sent a free email to say, are all the Stonewall veterans all right? Or do you need any help with anything, or any medical or absolutely nothing, nothing. But Mary Willson of the Supremes did, including some other celebrities like Harvey Fierstein and so forth. And then we also was another female singer. Pardon?
You froze up there for a minute.
Oh, I know. We were in contact with Brenda Holloway, who was also, the Stonewall veterans know, very popular in the Stonewall jukebox. And by the way, for the Stonewall movie, let's segue into that, directed by Roland Emmerich, who's quite well known and extremely talented and a great guy. He interviewed close to 20 different Stonewall veterans, him and his producers, for the movie Stonewall. It came out 4 years ago. You can get it on DVD now and on demand. And people ask us, Letitia, what would you say is the best source reference about the Stonewall era and the Stonewall Rebellion, which is incredibly recreated in that movie? Just unbelievable. It even gave me the chills watching it. So that would be the answer. It's not from any book or magazine or one of these articles with all the misinformation. It's the Stonewall movie by Roland Emmerich. That's the best thing, because it has, you know, a background of a love story between these two boys, and the one is gay and the other's straight. It certainly rings a bell for me. And the movie ends in a very climatic way, where the boy's mother and his sister show up at the gay pride parade, and he's leading it. So it really, you know, full circle, great movie, Stonewall. If you haven't seen it, anyone that hears this, definitely see the movie Stonewall. And
well,
I think that on the film, by the way.
I think the best source of information about the Stonewall Rebellion is the SVA and all of you. You have been a delight. It has been an honor that I have been able to host this special broadcast of the Stonewall Veterans Association. Stories of the 1969 rebellion. Chuck Kaminsky writes that back to Magic Touch in 1965, the Nassau County District Attorney's Office convicted Eddie DeCurtis, John Vignini, and Daniel Fatico of Gambino crime family member for operating a disorderly house in Island Park, Long Island. Nassau County investigators observed indecent and disorderly homosexual incident and disorderly homosexual activities, which meant boys dancing with other boys and girls with other girls and touching each other through their clothing at the Magic Touch DeCurtis bar. Using wiretaps. Oh, he goes on. This is a real long one. They used wiretaps, you know, to get this information. And ladies and gentlemen, these are the things that the young people don't realize today. That being gay, you know, it was quite different 51 years ago. And these people that you see on your screen and our friend Bert Coffman on the phone paved the way for gay rights everywhere. And if you want to say thank you for their courage, because you've got to remember, you all were some of you were teenagers at the time. You were young. And when you did what you did, I don't think you recognized what you were doing. And that, yeah, that courage can't. You
back. That's what we did. We didn't do it for fame.
That's right. And now you changed the world all these years later. So, Bert, do you have anything to add as we wind up the show?
Well, you know, that's it. You know, we've come a long way from 50 plus years ago. But we still have a long way to go. There's still unfinished issues in business to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So what we hope with the endeavors of the Stonewall Rebellion Veterans Association, and also hopefully we can garner the support we need to do the continuing education and advocacy to enlighten and lift up the spirits of the gay constituency to go on to do things like finally getting the end legislation passed and more enhanced penalties in the criminal justice system to protect and defend the vulnerable gays like the poor trannies out there. And so hopefully we can continue striving as we've done. As the late queer Jewish poet Allen Ginsberg said, keep my queer shoulder to the wheel.
Excellent. So, Bob Isadora, do you have a final word for our audience?
Well, living with David for the last 46 years and meeting Williamson and the other vets, it's been a inspiring story for me as a gay man. As Williamson knows, I've been involved in politics. And if it wasn't for the courage of these guys, I would have never run for office out here. I mean, I was the first gay man ever elected chairman of my town committee.
Right.
I was the first gay man ever elected to the Cape and Islands Council, and re-elected 6 terms and still running again. So, I mean, but, I had to build on what Williamson and David did and Bert and Rusty. I mean, if we didn't have that confidence or that example, we wouldn't be where we are. I mean, Massachusetts was the first state to have legalized same-gender marriage.
Yeah.
And whoever thought that? I mean, really? I know Williamson never thought of that, or David, the night of Stonewall. You were just fighting for your rights,
Right.
period. But look what you guys have done. And I'm proud to know all of you, and I'm honored and happy to have this guy, the man I love. So keep going.
David, what are your final words?
Williamson said something before, which I use in my speeches because I talk in many different places about kids fighting with each other. He threw the rock, he threw the brick, he did all bull crap. All that is baloney. We're not, I want to tell the young kids, we are not living because of a brick or a fire or what. We're not. We went out there as young people, innocent young people who were tired, not only by cops, our parents, our friends, our workers. People didn't like lesbians or gays, period. They didn't like them. If they knew anything about them, forget it, you lose your job, like I said before. And Williamson was saying that there's a lot of kids that, argue the point here and argue the point there, all that kind of stuff. One of the things that I'll always remember, Bobby and I, when President Barack Obama was president, I remember, these are Stonewall hats, by the way.
Yeah.
Made over here. And we sent Barack Obama and Michelle and his kid, hats. And then I did a show about Stonewall, and I had it on a CD, and I sent it to him. And Bobby, being the politician, I said, why don't you see if you can get that to the president? Because, they get a million things and all that. Well, he did. And the person that he picked went to Obama, gave him the package and all that. So we didn't hear about anything for about 3 months or something like that. So all of a sudden, from Washington, we both get this beautiful, beautiful letter from Barack. It was so beautiful.
Right.
And so here's where I'm coming from. You were saying, Williamson, how people say this happened, that didn't happen, they argue the point. I remember hearing from somebody in New York City that somebody said that I was a liar getting the letter from Barack, the president. And I
We
went,
have the letter. We
yeah,
have a copy of it.
yeah, and here we are. We're talking about this. That's how people think. And you got to know, kids, when we talk, us older people without crutches,
Yeah.
when we talk, we are the original. You could read all the books you want, you can talk all you want, whatever it is. Listen to the original people, because one day we're not going to be here. And all you're going to hear is a bunch of, I'm not going to use the word, maybe I would, bullshit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this is where we are. Look at us over here. And Letitia, look at Letitia putting the show on. Putting this show on that's going to be all over the place, right?
Yep.
To think, you know.
It'll stay. There'll be a link to it, right?
Why don't they?
People can access this show in 10 years from now.
Listen to us, because when we're gone, the only thing you can do is just put on Letitia's show.
On YouTube.
YouTube. But the thing is, there is where there's a problem in the gay world right now. That they are arguing. They did this, he did that, she wasn't there, Williamson wasn't there. Yeah. That kind of nonsense. It's nonsense.
It's nonsense.
Be happy. Feel great that today, I know California, they go to the bars and they dance with bathing suits. You know what I mean? We did that, we would be locked up for 20 years.
Yeah. They try to rewrite history.
And you can't do that.
And the only way is to have, like the Tisha put on these
Put on these
programs
shows, yeah.
and have Williamson and Rusty and David, and let people hear it from the horse's mouth.
And we have a friend of ours, Tracy Welch, in New Bedford. She did the same thing, Letitia. She came to our home, right? She interviewed us over here, and then we had the same thing over here. And this is the people we need, Williamson, to help us keep the story going the right way, you know?
That's it.
And we love you for that, Letitia. We really love you for that.
Well, it's my pleasure. Linda Mitchell says that Sarah and I love you both.
We love you too, Sarah. Hey,
Rusty.
what do you look like, Sarah, Linda?
I hear you.
Rusty, give us your last thoughts before we close the show.
Okay, I just try to keep it simple, but to expand on what David said. First of all, revisionist historians who just, depending what friends they have, what their motivation is, it's a bunch of baloney. And what is happening is, like I told Hop, I made them take down during the 50th Sylvia's picture, Queen Allison, Stormy, because I remind everybody, Stormy DeLarve, Sylvia Rivera, Marcia P. were part of the Stonewall Rebellion Veteran Association.
Right, they were all members of it.
Wait a minute. How could you honor them and disregard us? Something is wrong with this thinking.
Yep.
And then how could you honor them when in life you didn't honor them? So what I say, I'm waiting for Inside Stonewall because it is made by the New York City Police and Hudson Blue Productions and the original Stonewall Police. They're going to tell you who truly was there and who wasn't there. And I'm asking them to seal the records after that. So there'll be no more nonsense with this. But because I've been insulted, when Inside Stonewall comes out, there'll be no interviewing me, no nothing. And don't warn me when I die.
Well, I'll mourn you when you die. So let's not make that anytime soon.
I know, if you can't honor us in life and know who we are and play games where we're going to take some of you to honor and some of you to disregard, don't bug me. Don't bother me. I want nothing, no part of it.
Okay, and Willson Henderson, our esteemed director of the SVA, give us some parting words for the audience.
Well, two things. One is we hope that anyone that comes to the Stonewall Veteran Association 51st Annual Conference and Stonewall Veterans Reunion. The ones who we know are fakes, they never come to the reunion because they don't want to be questioned. And also no one would know who they were anyway because they weren't there. But it's at St. John's Lutheran Church, which you can look up. It's on our website. Go to the stonewallvets.org, and there's an icon that says upcoming events, Saturday, July 25th, and the flyer is there too. And that's from 3:15 to 6 on Christopher Street, which is most appropriate. That's where we started, and we're back on it, but at the church. And so everyone's welcome to come, except for, as was alluded to by Bert Coffman correctly, about the haters. We don't want them. Well, they wouldn't come anyway. We have guys that can handle them. So, and the second thing is, and this is a new phrase started by me, although probably in a couple of years, the gay rag paper will say it was started by Marsha Johnson. And here's the phrase. You'll love it. And it's going to be our theme. 3 words. Rusty is salivating because she knows it's going to be a good one. And no one has said this. Trust me. Here it is. Stonewall Lives Matter. I repeat.
Oh, very good. That's very good.
Stonewall Lives Matter.
Excellent. Excellent.
Excellent.
And they've only got about, we don't know how many years for the Stonewall Lives to be continued. But if I had to guess, I'd say, well, I probably under guessing it, but say 25 years. Well,
Right.
that's
Hopefully many, many more.
yeah. Well,
Oh, yeah.
the thing is that the gay community in particular, or the alphabet soup as it's known now, GLBT, QRS, XYZ, IA, you know, needs to
Plus sign.
Yeah, the
I'm
plus sign. Son, what community is represented by an acronym? You know, you have Jewish or Italian or Chinese or German, geographic, whatever. No one is represented by an acronym. It's so stupid. And that's why a lot of the world is not going to take us seriously with an acronym. But anyway, getting back to Stonewall Lives Matter, they do. And Letitia, you did a great job of making that point throughout the show tonight, that Stonewall Lives Matter, not knowing I was going to say this theme, because I had not announced it anywhere until tonight. I've been thinking about it over the last couple of months, as you could all understand why. And I figured let's zero right in on Stonewall Lives Matter, which they do. And everyone should be quite appreciative of that.
Well, thank you, Wilson. And for those of you who, for whatever reason, can't make it to the conference on Saturday, we will have a Facebook live from the Facebook page. So definitely, if you can be there, you should be there, because I can tell you from experience, to hear the stories that are told at that conference from other Stonewall vets who were there that night at the end, is just amazing. It's moving, and it is absolutely something that you should experience in person. But in the event that Corona or any other thing keeps you away, it will be broadcast live from the Facebook page. Don't forget, everyone who's watching, the GoFundMe page. Go to GoFundMe, type in the search Stonewall Vets, and you will find the Stonewall Veterans Association page, not to be confused with the Stonewall Inn's GoFundMe page. But we would like to raise as much money as they raised, because they raised almost $400,000. And I want to thank everybody tonight for letting me be your hostess. And if you had a good time, maybe we could do it again in the future. So for right now, I want to sign off and remind everybody, Stonewall Lives Matter. And thank you all for being here tonight, everyone.
Thank you, Letitia. And
guys, we'll see you again. All right.
And Bert Coffman on the phone.
Yeah.
He's our vice president.